Welcome to another episode of the Nintendo Powercast. I'm your host, N64 Josh. It's Wednesday, so that means it's our NSO game of the week. This week's game, Streets of Rage 2 on the Sega Genesis. Before we get into it, remember these streams are powered by Elgato, n64josh.com/Elgato. Use code N64Josh at checkout. If you're picking up some content creation gear like capture cards, lighting, microphones, stream decks, all the good stuff, n64josh.com/Elgato, code N64Josh at checkout. Let's jump in some of the backstory behind Streets of Rage 2. Here we go. Streets of Rage 2, known as Bare Knuckle 2 in Japan, is a 1992 beat 'em up developed and published by Sega for the Sega Genesis. It is the direct sequel to Streets of Rage from 1991 and brings back Axel Stone and Blaze Fielding, while introducing two new playable characters, Max Thunder, a slow but powerful wrestler, and Eddie Skate Hunter, the younger brother of Adam Hunter from the original game. Development was handled by an ad hoc team uh, made up of Sega, Ancient, Shout Design Works, MNM Software, and HIC, with Ayano Toshiro serving as lead graphic designer and game design planner, and Yuzo Koshiro composing the soundtrack. The game was programmed by the same team responsible for the original Streets of Rage. Upon release, Streets of Rage 2 received widespread critical acclaim and top sales charts for several months. It is commonly regarded as the best entry in the Streets of Rage series, and the best beat 'em up on the Sega Genesis, and one of the greatest games of all time, with its soundtrack frequently cited as one of the best in video game history. 1 year after the events of Streets of Rage, Axel Stone, Adam Hunter, and Blaze Fielding reunite in Wood Oak City to reflect on their victory over Mr. X and his criminal organization, the Syndicate. Axel and Blaze have since left the city, with Axel working as a part time bodyguard and Blaze teaching dance classes, while Adam has returned to the police force and lives with his younger brother, Eddie Skate Hunter. The peace is shattered when Skate discovers their home destroyed and Adam missing, with evidence revealing that Mr. X has returned and taken Adam captive. Crime and violence quickly spread across the city once again, prompting Blaze to contact Axel for help. Determined to stop Mr. X and rescue Adam, Axel and Blaze are soon joined by Skate, who insists on helping save his brother, and Max Thunder, a professional wrestler and friend of Alex, who joins the mission. The group sets out on a rescue operation that takes them through Wood Oak City and ultimately to Mr. X's island hideout, where they confront Mr. X and his bodyguard, Shiva. Streets of Rage 2 features a single ending in which Mr. X is defeated, Adam is rescued, and the heroes escape by helicopter. Design and programming for Streets of Rage 2 were led in key areas by siblings Koshiro and Yuzo Koshiro at Ancient. Ayano Koshiro served as lead graphic designer and one of the game's design planners, creating the visuals, character designs, and combat mechanics, while Yuzo composed the music and also contributed feedback on combat design. The team drew direct inspiration from Capcom Street Fighter II, which they had installed as an arcade cabinet in the Ancient office, and its influence can be seen in the refined combat system. The game was programmed by the same team responsible for the original Streets of Rage, with the improvements made to the Sega Mega Drive cartridge specifications to allow for additional features and increased memory capacity. The soundtrack was composed primarily by Yuzo, with three tracks contributed by Motohiro Kawashima, and was created using NEC PC 8801 hardware along with Koshiro's custom audio programming language. The music drew heavy influence from electric dance music styles, including house, techno, hardcore techno, and breakbeat, and has since been widely praised as revolutionary and far ahead of its time for bringing nightclub style electronic sounds into a video game soundtrack. Streets of Rage 2 launched in December of 1992, with regional differences across its releases. In Japan and Europe, the game used Roman numerals in its title, while North America used Arabic numerals. Several visual and content edits were made for Western versions, including adjustments to Blaze's flying kick animation and the removal of Mr. X's cigar. Uh, Character names also varied by region, with Eddie Skate Hunter known as Sammy in Japan and Max Thunder named Max Hatchet in Europe. The game supported the Sega Activator motion control and was demonstrated with this peripheral at CES in January of 1993. Streets of Rage 2 was later released on numerous platforms, including Master System, Game Gear, arcade hardware, Dreamcast, PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, Xbox One, PS4, PC, and mobile devices, with some versions featuring notable differences in content and presentation. An enhanced version titled 3D Streets of Rage 2 was developed by M2 for the Nintendo 3DS in 2015, adding stereoscopic 3D and new gameplay modes such as Rage Relay and Casual mode. The original game was added to Nintendo Switch Online's Sega Genesis library on October 25th, 2021. Streets of Rage 2 was a major commercial and critical success across multiple regions. In North America, it ranked among the top 5 best-selling Sega Genesis games in December of 1992 and remained a top seller at retailers like Babbage's through March of 1993. In Japan, it was a top-selling Mega Drive game it was the top-selling Mega Drive game in January of 1993 and placed 11th on all the format sales charts in its debut week. Across Europe, it became the third best-selling video game between 1992 and early 93, trailing only Super Mario Kart and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. While in the United Kingdom, it debuted at number 1 on both the all formats and Mega Drive charts in January of 1993 and remained near the top of the charts for several months. The Xbox Live Arcade version sold over 184,000 units by 2011, with player estimates later reaching hundreds of thousands across the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. While the Android release surpassed 1 million downloads, critics widely praised the game upon release, with many publications awarding scores above 90%, including a perfect score from GamePro and a near unanimous acclaim from GameFan reviewers. Publications across the United States, Japan, and the United Kingdom consistently described it as one of the finest beat 'em ups ever made, praising its combat, presentation, and Yuzo Koshihiro's soundtrack. Streets of Rage 2 also received numerous awards, including Best Game, Best Action Fighting Game, and Best Game Music at the GameFan Golden Mega Awards, Best Beat 'em Up of 1992 at the Mega Reader Awards, and industry recognition from Mean Machines Sega and Sega Force. In 1993, Electronic Gaming Monthly awarded Streets of Rage 2, wait for it, the title of the hottest video game babe, recognizing Blade Fielding as part of the magazine's annual awards. Streets of Rage 2 is one of those rare games where everything came together at exactly the right time. The combat feels tight, the characters feel distinct, and the soundtrack still hits as hard today as it did in the early 90s. Whether you played it with friends on the living room floor or you're jumping in for the first time on Nintendo Switch Online, it holds up for the same reason it always has. It respects the player it respects the player. With all that said, I want to hear your stories because this is one of those games that means something different to everybody. All right, here we go. Here we go. What's up, you guys? Welcome on in. I see the clever is here. Cryptic, Nady Nay. Who else we got? Gamer, Oreo Cookie, and anyone else? Joey, here we go. Here we go. Love it. All right. So I want to hear from you guys on this. What'd you guys think of this one? I immediately, like, the moment I picked it up. So, being the Super Nintendo kid, not as much of a Sega Genesis kid. Like, I didn't own the Sega Genesis. I had a good friend who I did a lot of sleepovers. playing Sega Genesis. Streets of Rage, like, I don't, like, distinctly remember playing this, but it would have been right up my alley because I was such a huge fan of Final Fight. Capcom's Final Fight is very much Streets of Rage. So, uh, basically, Max, who you're seeing on the screen right now, was very much, Hagar from Final Fight. And Final Fight, I loved in the arcade, was super bummed out when it finally got over to Super Nintendo. It was one player. I'm like, how do you take a beat 'em up like this and make it only one player? Like, it was such a huge disappointment. So this game immediately felt familiar, just just because of my experience with Final Fight. The music stood out to me immediately. I was like, "Yo, this is a bop." All right? You're gonna notice as I get a little further into the game, I think it's like the 3rd level, one of the funniest things that jumped out to me was the fact that one of the signs just said, "Do it baseball." And I was like, "What?" Like, really? And then another one said, "It's like Boo," I think. I was like, "Okay, well, I don't know what this means, but we'll go with it, okay?" So, taking a look at, some of the chats here. So, Nadine says, "Hey, one of the best." Cryptic says, "My review of this game, honestly, I always thought it was a great game because of its mystique, but playing it, I didn't like it." Oh, interesting. It felt very slow for a beat 'em up, coming from Battletoads, which was way faster. What I do enjoy about this game was that it's not entirely just a beat 'em up. It's almost a fighter where each character has their own combos to learn, which you rarely seen back then. Very, very true. Very, very true. So, uh, Gamer Oreo says, "What about Street Fighter, the new challengers 2, for Sega and Super Nintendo?" Fantastic. Yeah, great games. A little tough to play on the Sega controller with only 3 buttons, that's for sure. So, Nady says, "Such a classic, so many hours put into this game with my cousin." I love that. Uh, the Clever says, "And people say Josh doesn't like reading." Yeah, right, right. Well, part of the thing with these, I want people to be able to come back and watch this years from now and get a good idea of what this game's history, you know? So the intro, the first, 6 to 8 minutes, whatever, I'll be going through the history of these games like that, and then we can chat about them afterwards. So, Nate says I can do a whole stream of Josh reading off a list of people that work at Nintendo and Sega. Yes, of course, of course. As I try to mess up all their Japanese names. I'm so good at it. Um, Figure drawing said a bop, and 64 Josh is 17 years old, confirmed. Yo, like 6'7", right? Nate says the Genesis had such that feel from the moment the game turns on. They got those funky bass lines. Streets of Rage 2 in arcades, then at home. The music slaps, Nadine says. Yo, it really does. It really does. Like I was definitely and each level had such great music. Like there was it was unique and it added to the overall atmosphere. Like, I love the current level we're seeing right now, like, I think it's level 2 or 3. It's like you're in this alien club. Like, there's those are, like, clearly xenomorph eggs is what it looks like, and, the music is just kinda eerie, it matches with the boss fight, and I loved how games another game I feel did an amazing job with that is Super Metroid. Super Metroid was another one that just really nailed the music helped the atmosphere, and even though this was just like a beat 'em up, where it could have potentially had throwaway music, the music was incredible. Like, I was very, very impressed by it. So I wanna go back a little bit to what Cryptic was saying about the game feeling slow, and at times, yes, it very much did feel, feel a little bit slow, but it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me because I was like, "You know what? Look at the size of these sprites. The fun is still here." There were times that I was trying to, like, maybe if I press twice, press forward twice, they'll sprint a little bit. But, I, uh, I didn't mind. I didn't mind the pacing too much, but I think a lot of that too, like, it felt relatively on par with Final Fight. Like, I haven't played Final Fight in quite some time, but they are a bit little, a bit little slower, a bit little, more methodical, and Max is obviously slower. I played as Blaze a little bit later on. She was a bit faster, so that helped as well. So yeah, we just finished up, stage 3 right there. So you'll see in the background, there's a sign that says Sega Stadium, and then it says, "It's like Boo." That's what that little yellow sign in the background, and then, like, this poor guy on the bench, I tried to just smack him while he was sleeping, but I could not. I couldn't connect. The guys with the knives, so annoying, but look at those signs right there, you guys. Do baseball. Do baseball. That's it. Do baseball. Like, I think it had to have been some kind of a translation thing going on there, but do baseball just it sent me as I was playing. I thought it was great. One thing for me, it was super, super nostalgia, even just going into the Nintendo Switch Online app for the Sega Genesis and just hearing Sega. Just hearing the way it started, I was like, "Yo, this takes me back." And it honestly, it I'm very thankful for the fact that, like, I wasn't just a Super Nintendo kid, but I got to spend a lot of time with this system because, Sega did some amazing things back with the 16-bit stuff. Like, there was no question there. Games, that really stick out in my mind, Sonic, of course, Road Rage was fantastic. Road Rage 2 on the Sega Genesis was, like, top notch. We've looked at some other games like Shinobi and, Gunstar Heroes was another one that was just that we played all the time. It was so, so good. And so that was super nostalgic for me. Just firing it up and listening to that intro. In the gameplay right now, I loved picking up the pipe. Like, if you guys have played Final Fight, like, Streets of Rage and Final Fight have got to there's gotta be some overlap going on somewhere. Somebody was taking inspiration from somebody else. I have to look into the timeline to see exactly, but, like, I mean, even the move set of Max here, very much Hagar. So if I'm curious which one came out first and which one took inspiration from the other because, there's very, very, quite a few similarities with those 2 games. Even some of the enemies look fairly similar. One of the things I really loved was the bosses and how, like, you had this wrestler that was very much a version of Ultimate Warrior from back in the day. And then you had this boxer that it was giving Bald Bull vibes, from Punch-Out! And then I think there's some bigger guys that we're gonna see coming up here. They're right out of Final Fight as well, like, right out of Final Fight. So, uh, let's see. Cryptic said, "Don't get me wrong, I think the series is great. Streets of Rage 4 on Switch is one of my favorite games. Blaze is my character. The character I choose and my girl." I love that. Figure drawing says, "Those signs, AI bots did that. They traveled into the past to slop up the game. Sad but true." Let's see. Joey says, "So was this or what was the original home system, not like arcade, beat 'em up?" So if you're if see, I don't know if you're messing with Nate or if you're asking this serious. So I'm gonna answer you serious, but it's the Sega Genesis. Uh, it was this game did make it into arcades. I don't know the order in which that happened. I kinda think it came to, uh, home console first and then arcades later, which is not typical. But based on what we were just reading here, I'm pretty sure it was out on home console and then hit arcades a bit later. And it could have been one of those scenarios that was like the arcade version is the same version. It's not there's not too many differences to it, but I'd have to look in a little bit further to find out. So uh yeah, but of just of I had a lot of fun with this. And it was great jumping back in. So he said, "No, seriously, it was the OG, like, a beat 'em up game." Yeah, 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 yes. Yeah, so this series is absolutely, I mean, just like we played Battletoads and, beat 'em ups were such a huge part of my, gaming past, honestly, like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade game, was one that I loved, not only in the arcades, but also at home on the NES, and, and and so, yeah, I immediately felt right at home with this game. I don't like, I really don't feel like I've spent a ton of time with Streets of Rage. Like, I knew what it was, but it may have been one of those things that I'm like, "Ah, I get like, this looks like Final Fight, and I love Final Fight." Like, I used to play through Final Fight in the arcade, so and it wouldn't take me too many quarters. Like, I got pretty good at Final Fight. So, Cryptic said Cryptic said something about the Genesis made the colors pop for me. Was this after or before the Super FX chip? It would have been around the same time, right around the same time. This game may have had blast processing. I'm not quite sure. It may or may not have had blast processing. I don't know. So, uh, but yeah, the colors really did pop. The pixel art is absolutely amazing. One of my favorite things about this game that I wanted to make sure that I mentioned. Playing as Max anyway, I don't know if it happens with every character, but he's so big that when you're punching one character, if another one gets up close enough to you, you'll actually hit with your elbow and, can knock them back. And I was like, "Yo, that is so great," because how often the computer, like the AI is programmed to like try to get behind you. And so to be able to hit them with that as you're throwing your arm back to throw a punch forward, I was like, that's such a great detail. Like I love little details like that. That's, I mean, we did Battletoads last week. It's full of little just little details, little, the giant fist, the giant boot, that kind of stuff that just like adds a bit of charm. Those little details like that, the same kind of thing. So let me see. Oh, okay, just you guys just talking talking trash to each other as per usual is what it looks like. So, but yeah, you're seeing on screen right now this wrestler very much looking like the Ultimate Warrior, and I kinda love that nod. I also was getting annoyed, he's suplexing me, and then I finally was able to get a suplex on him, and I'm like, "Okay, there we go." But the health bar, much bigger on this guy, and I did realize too, like, if he misses, he's kinda frozen, and it gives me the opportunity to then grab him and do that suplex, which was taking, like, 3/4 of his health. Like, it was doing significant damage, which I thought was great, so I do wanna hear from you guys just a bit more, like, any really fun memories of this game, anything uh, that you just, you know, Friday nights, and I know Nate mentioned with his cousin, like, for me, it was overnighters. I can't remember for sure if we, if this was when we played. I'm fairly certain we probably rented it at least. It wasn't one that he owned, so I know, um so yeah, it may have been like a rental or something, but, uh, I don't have any specific memories with it, but I do wanna hear from you guys. Cryptic said, um, "Yeah, but like you, Josh, Sega was a console I missed up until the Dreamcast. It wasn't until Wii VC that I started dabbling in these games." Oh, interesting. Okay. Nadine A said, "Fun fact, I had to get this game twice because I jumped off the bed and broke the cartridge." No way. No way. That's crazy. That is, that's some Nate lore right there. I love that. But I think it's worth pointing out too, like, Blaze had way different animations with the knife. She was swinging that thing around much differently than Max was, which I think was also super cool. But, Cryptic, it's interesting that you started dabbling with Sega on the Wii Virtual Console. Like, I think that's great. I'm so happy that you were able to get back into it then. I know at times it's hard sometimes it's hard going back to the older games. 16-bit, not quite as difficult, like, that was really kind of a golden age for gaming, and it really has, In some cases hasn't aged, not like 8-bit, not like 64-bit, like the 16-bit stuff just kind of, is almost like a fine wine, And, uh, this game was no exception. Like, it really does look great. I was so impressed just with the sprite work. So, yeah, yeah, Nate says they're still making 16-bit stuff. Exactly. Yeah, like, what that Neon Inferno, so good. Like, so good. And, yeah, this I mean, it's very much just a classic arcade feel. So, Joey said this was my first ever Genesis game. Never touched the app. Okay. Alright, well, that's good to know. I think we're gonna do a second Genesis game this week, you guys. I think we're gonna do a second Genesis game, and that game is going to be Gunstar Heroes. That to me is peak Sega Genesis. So, I think you guys are gonna have a really good time with it. It's a cartoony version of Contra in my mind. It is kind of a more cartoony version of Contra. You get great gun power-ups, and, they are it is a really fun game, very action-packed. So Cryptic said, "I don't know what it is about 8-bit and 16-bit music that always sticks with me. Modern music, minus a few, like, Halo music, doesn't hit like these classic games." So, there's something it's there's magic that happens when you have to work within constraints, right? And so chip tunes, you've gotta be able to write music that can play over and over again for 10 to 15 minutes straight without getting annoying. Not an easy thing to do. And so you've gotta, like, weave in these melodies, uh, good bass lines, all this kinda stuff, working within those limitations, and a lot of time that's where the magic happens. There's a lot of people that would say that the best Nintendo magic happens when they work within those limitations, right? Like the Game Boy and the NES. And that's when they really would shine. So Nate says that minute 30 1 minute 30-second loops over and over again. Yeah. Yeah, and they have to be good or you will lose people, right? It can be I mean, to give you one example, the game that Donkey Kong replaced, Radar Scope, the music and sound effects of that game were so annoying that bartenders would unplug it. They didn't wanna listen to it. Where this game, I could listen to a s th this soundtrack. It was that good. It was that good. It's an impressive soundtrack, no question. And, you really get to see it's like the Super Mario Brothers theme from the NES. Like, it it just sticks with you. Those melody lines just stick with you because they had to be good. They had to be good. You had to be good at writing like those like Nate said, those minute and 30 loops so that, so that it wouldn't drive gamers crazy, And if you were really good, like we saw here, your music is going to add to the overall experience. It's gonna add to the atmosphere. It's going to make things, that much better, which is great. Cryptic said, "Gunstar Hero is nice. I never played it, but whenever Sega is brought up, someone always says to play Gunstar." Yes. Yep. That's what we're gonna do. You're gonna have a great I can't wait to go back. It's one that we used to beat we would beat it and go back to it over and over again. It was really, really fun. So, um, Nate says it's like a high melody with a chorus part. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. And it's fantastic. So, um Nate says, "I just love Sega so much." It's good. It was good. It was great to see the competition with Nintendo. What's really crazy is to go back, watch, like, Console Wars on Paramount Plus, and just to see the way the execs used to just go at each other's throats. It was wild. Um, Joey says, "I'm playing Gunstar right now. It feels very high death game." So I don't know if we used to punch in a code for extra lives. I'd have to. I don't recall, but I know it was a game that we would play all the way through. But it was a game that we would. I don't want to get into it too much, but it was fantastic to play with a friend. It was so much fun to play as a friend. And so I do want to figure out, like, should we let's talk about it in Discord, guys. But I feel like a lot of these games are better in co-op, and so like maybe I don't know, maybe Saturday mornings or something are like a let's jump in and play NSO game of the week and chat about it together in Discord, something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Let me know like what everybody's like schedules look like because I would love to be able to, Streets of Rage would have been great with friends. You guys were chatting about it last week. So let's try to set up a time where we can get some of these games together because I think it would be a lot of fun. So, um, Nadine says, "Everyone go listen to Toxic Caves from Sonic Spinball after the podcast." Love it. Uh, Joey says, "But speaking of Genesis, what game on NSO is a good platformer? I want to try a Sega platformer. That would be Sonic. Yeah, you'd want to jump into like Sonic the Hedgehog. I think they have two on there, Sonic Two, which is just amazing. So good. So that is going to do it for tonight, you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really, really do appreciate you. And these are turning into so much fun. I'm having a blast with it. So I just appreciate everybody turning out. And it's like our little corner of the internet, our little gaming book club, which has just been it's just been a blast. And if you're listening after the fact and you can't make it to the live stream, please jump into the conversation, leave a comment on Spotify, jump into the Discord and talk about these games with us. Like by all means, we would love to have you be a part of the conversation, even if you can't make it to the live. So, uh just I just want to make sure that you feel there's your invite, all right? So you're welcome to jump in and hang out. With that, you guys, as always, play it loud.